What up, traders? What up, investors? Ken here from Dyslexic Investor, and thank you for tuning in for another fantastic video. So we're going to be looking at a very speculative trade, and something that I saw come across the board like yesterday, just kind of perusing around some options trees. Looking at Alibaba, ticker symbol BABA. Of course, if you haven't seen this chart in a while, we can take a quick look at it. This thing has been completely obliterated due to regulations, due to potential delistings, just to the growth of China, all kinds of things. But a lot of people are like, "Oh, Charlie Munger still owns it," blah 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 blah. But like, the stock has been completely crushed, going from a high of 320, you can see up here, basically down, trading as low as $73 and kind of bouncing in around that. And the reason why I kind of bring this up, let's kind of go into like a daily chart here. It's been bouncing. Like I know a couple people on the Discord are long this stock still, and I know people have a much more longer time horizon on this. But at the same time, I'm actually thinking that we could see a pretty large upside surprise on some of the options actions that we're currently seeing, even though this thing has been completely beaten down. Everyone's negative on it. No one's giving any positive news on it. And I think that's the time when you see the risk to reward kind of balancing act, where you could potentially put a small bet, place a wager, place an options trade that you can potentially get a large upside. When everyone else is thinking that everything is down and out, everything is just it's just going to go crashing down and continue crashing down to $0. That might be the case 100%. But the option actions that we're talking about, it were some longer dated calls actually expiring in January of 2023. So about 170-ish days. So let's go ahead and look at the options tree. We're looking at the 120. Again, these are very far out of the money. There was a lot of activity on these particular options of yesterday. And you can see some options actions coming in today as well at the 100. I'm pretty sure that these folks are going to be selling it. Let's just take a quick looky-loo here. We'll go to the chart, bring it down to the 5-day chart. Looks like some people were selling it, buying it at these levels. Looks like they sold it yesterday and then bought some today, or bought it back, or just getting some of that premium out of there. But the one that we want to be looking at, if we go back here, is the options action that happened yesterday, which was about a little over $1 million of options buying. Again, that's not a small chunk of change, right? Like, it's a pretty large amount that transpired in this just transaction. And what we're looking at is actually the start of the open on basically yesterday, which was Monday. The 1st of August, someone, investor, hedge fund, whatever, bought basically almost 2,100 shares of the Alibaba 120 calls expiring January 2023. And again, they bought them, let's just give them the benefit of the doubt, maybe around 550, 525. So we can kind of pull up our fancy dancy calculator. So if they bought, let's say, we say 2,100 calls, and then they bought them at, let's just give them at like 525 range. And then, of course, we have to multiply that by 100 because that's, again, one contract is so forth. So like 1.1 million. That's again, not a small chunk of change here. That has already gone up pretty, basically almost $1 plus for per option. So that's a nice little return already. As you can see here, it's been very quiet here and potentially looking for that surprise. Again, this is what I'm not saying that this is going to be going through the roof, Alibaba and so forth. But Alibaba has been beaten down so much over the past basically year. I think that we could maybe get an upside surprise. The expected move, we can look here as well, for this week's option is basically plus or minus $8. So $8 would kind of put us up to that $100 level, which we've kind of seen here before, which is the falling 21 EMA here. And at the same time, going below that would put us to around that 80, 86, 85 level, which was basically kind of filling this gap right here on the daily chart here. Again, this is completely speculation. I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is just sharing of information and potentially what could happen. But we could see this come Thursday morning be a very large return, or just burning some money here. Again, it's a coin flip. If you know anything about the earnings cycle, and especially on how options trade around earnings, the thing is that these options are still pretty far out, like a date wise, but they are still far out of the money. Like 120, what is 120? Like that falls in exactly with the falling exponential moving average here at the 200 exponential moving average here, which we've seen it hit once before. So are these hedge funds investors thinking that we potentially can run up all the way up to the blue line here again? Maybe. Like, who knows, right? Like, there's so many other things that could be going on here. I'm not a deep analyst or the understanding of Alibaba's business, but I think I wanted to bring this to everyone's attention to kind of be like, hey, that seems quite interesting on some of that options actions happening with Alibaba. At the same time, it being beat down so much in the past. Like, again, how far are we down here? We're from like 320. So basically, like October of last year, to the low of just a couple months ago was around 77%. So that thing, 77% of its value has just been shredded due to all the other things that are going on in the world. You can kind of see in a pinpoints a really good trend here, and it's getting kind of choppy here because it's no longer considered in a downward trend because it's kind of chopping and trying to get back above the 21 EMA. You can still see the longer dated moving average is like the 50 simple moving average and that 200 EMA here. Still slightly curving down. The yellow one is still kind of curving down, but it's not at that 45-degree angle down and just kind of crashing to the ground. It's kind of bouncing. So is this the bottom? Is this a double bottom, which is be bada boom, bada bang? Maybe a triple bottom? Who knows, right? Like, if everyone knew what's going to happen in the stock market, we all would be trillionaires and there would be no advantage to taking on risk. So this is all about risk to reward. I'm most likely, I can just take a virtual poll on the internet on how positive people are on Alibaba. I think 90%, 85% people would just kind of poop on it. So I think that that's a risk to reward here. Same with Uber that kind of came out today. We had that really aggressive downward movement here. Again, since this was a little bit not as long ago, it's a February high of 64, and kind of came crashing down here, hitting some fib levels, potentially leveling off here, getting a nice 16% bump today due to strong earnings, but basically losing less money than they have before and kind of consolidating costs down, and really kind of breaking past that 21 EMA. Let's see on the weekly side if it can continue. Looking for some overall resistance coming in around that $30 level there. So that's looking at that overall market there. We have the NASDAQ kind of turning around here as well. Again, looking on the weekly side, we call this on Sunday potentially a fake out, meaning that we're getting like a bull trap. Let's see if we can kind of get that momentum going above this 13,000 price target. We want to see it above 13 and make its way higher here. If not, this 21 EMA is going to be that level of resistance and the level of we potentially could see it kind of curling back over. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Again, want to make it super clear here. Alibaba, completely highly, let's put this thing out there, highly speculative trade here. Just be very careful. Just want to share that information, kind of put that out there. If you just want to make yourself a bag of popcorn and watch from the sideline, I would do that without a doubt if it's too risky of a trade to look at it. You can do so many different other variants of this trade. You can just be selling some calls. You can sell some puts against it if you're depending on what side that you're looking at. But yeah, if you guys want to see more of these analyzing of trades and potentially what could happen and the risk to reward analysis and so forth, please let me know down in the comments below. And again, Have a blessed day. Peace.